In our application, data saving is fast because we don't actually send the data anywhere. We just serialize it. But what about cases when we want to send data to the server and save it in the database? Sometimes such saving can take a bit longer, but it's important to ensure that the user experience is at the highest level so that the saving process is smooth and the user knows that something is happening after clicking the button, that the data is being processed. I'll show you how it will look now. Let's artificially extend our saving process. So let's add some await, task, delay, and set this delay to even 2 seconds. Now I run the application, add some data, and save it. Notice that I clicked and nothing really happens. And only after a moment, this message is displayed, so it doesn't look good. It's unclear what's happening at that moment, and it would be worth improving. It's also worth displaying a spinner in such a situation, so that the user knows the button has indeed been clicked, and that they need to wait a moment for a response. I have already prepared such a spinner here in the www folder, where I added a loading GIF that we can display in this situation. Now, we'll add an auxiliary field. Private bool is loading, year false. We'll set this field to true when the save button is clicked and set it back to false once the process is complete. We need to handle this in our form view. There's a nice way to do this. Where we have the save button, we can add a conditional statement. If isLoading is true, meaning the button has been clicked, we want to display the spinner. However, if loading is false, we display this button normally as before. Now let's add this button here, change its label to saving, and also add our spinner here, the GIF, so source equals loading GIF. We can put this text in a span. Okay, let's set this button as disabled, so it can't be clicked at this moment if data is being saved, and I'll add one more class here, btn spinner, to nicely display the spinner and the saving text on our button. I'll also add this class for the entire application in app CSS, since we'll probably want to use it in various places. So btn spinner, and we'll set display to flex to nicely display them side by side. Column, gap set to 0.6 rem, align items as center, and we'll set a fixed width for the GIF to 20px. So we actually have two buttons here, but only one will be displayed at a time. Initially, only the save button will be displayed. If we click it, isLoading immediately changes to true, and this button will be replaced by the button with our spinner and different text. Additionally, it's good to display this code in a try, catch, finally clause, or just in try, finally, and then we set isLoading and all the logic in try, while we set isLoading in finally, so that isLoading is always set back to true. So here we handle this exception, or we can completely skip it if we don't need it. Now I run the application and see how this entry looks now. I enter a name here and select a position, and now notice what happens with the save button. I click it and it changes here, the text changes, and this GIF appears. So the user immediately knows that something is happening, that the data is being saved, and knows they have to wait a moment for the data to be processed. This way, you can nicely simulate some data processing not only during data saving in the form, but also in other situations, such as fetching data from the server. That is, you display a spinner at the start, and only when the data is fetched from the server do you hide it and show the fetched data. Now I invite you to the next lesson, which will be homework. Be sure to check it out, because there will be a very cool task to complete.